Hi, my name is Mark.
And I'm Allison. We're from Counseling and Career Services.
And we're talking about the foresee your future.
So if I were to ask you, think of yourself 4 or 5 years ago. If I were to ask you if you could have predicted where you would be today and what you're doing, how good of a job could you have done in doing that, making that prediction?
I wouldn't have been able to predict where I am today, no. And how about yourself?
No, I would have had no idea. I had totally different plans, I think, of where I would have been. You know, I had goals and set that I would be doing certain things 5 years from now. And those goals have definitely changed and developed, I think, for the good. But no one really can predict where their future is going to be, right? Yeah. And certainly not university students who are starting out in their first year, taking courses. It's pretty difficult for most students to be able to tell you what they'll be doing 5 years from the first day that they walk in the doors here.
Yeah. But I think that that's often what really drives us when we're looking for career paths, is that need for certainty. We want to be able to know for certain where we're headed and what we're going to do.
And isn't that kind of cultural, though, in some senses? Because even back when I was in university, and I know this from talking to students now that it's the same, what's the first question that people ask you when you tell them that you're in university?
What are you going to do with your life?
What are you going to study? What are you going to do with that degree, right? So there's pressure to make a plan and to know what it is that you're going to do. Even though the reality is, we can't even know what we're going to do. You know, you can't know with any degree of certainty what you're going to be doing for sure, what job you're going to have, where you're going to be living, what relationship you're going to be in, what the world's going to be like, what the government's going to be doing, what the economy's doing. Like, all of those things factor in, right? And a lot can happen and change over 4 or 5 years that students are spending completing their degree program.
Yeah, and that's where courage comes in. You know, the courage to live with that uncertainty, to be okay with that uncertainty and ambiguity about where your life might be headed.
Yeah.
And then also to have the courage to pursue your interests. You know, there's lots of pressure to consider the labor market and to think what's going to get me a guaranteed job, what's a practical choice. But there is no guarantees.
No.
And so then it really requires a lot of courage to, in the face of that uncertainty, pursue, you know, what's unique to you, what your passion is.
Yeah, it takes a lot of courage, I think, to sit with the uncertainty of that, to know that you can make different choices, you can take your classes, you can set some goals, but the truth is that all those things, you know, can change in a blink of an eye, and that's okay. And I often tell students that walk in the door that it's totally okay for them to not know what it is that they want to do, and to not exactly have an occupational title, or to not have a job posting in mind that they're going to want to apply for when they leave here. That's totally fine. They have to get comfortable with not knowing, and then I think have the courage to go forward though, and to explore and to try new things. Because if you don't know what you want to do and you don't have a sense of where you're going, then the onus is on you to do some exploration, right? And it can take a lot of courage to do that, like to put yourself out there and try new things, and to take a course in something that you've never studied before, or to join a club, or to get involved with that professor that you really admire. It takes a lot of courage to do those things. But that's really how we move our career forward, is in those small steps, those small acts of courage that we have to engage in on a daily basis, weekly basis, monthly basis, with intentionality, I think, and purpose.
Yeah, it definitely takes a leap of faith, you know, to go after opportunities and to try things out and to pursue new experiences.
Yeah, I like that word, faith. Like, we do. I think you have to have faith in yourself as the career expert. I think you also have to have faith in the things that you're interested in, and your abilities and your strengths, and the things that you can control.
Yeah, and too often I think our career decisions are based on fear, which is the opposite of courage.
Yeah, what's going to get me a job?
Yeah.
What's going to make mom and dad happy?
Yeah.
What can I rely on for sure?
Yeah.
You know, where will there be a job posting when I'm done?
Yeah.
And you can think about those things, but I don't think they should be the focus of your career decision making. But that takes courage.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and the other thing too is that failure is also a part of career development. And it takes courage to learn and grow as well, and to accept failure as part of the natural process of growth.
And it will happen.
Yeah.
Right? I like that quote by Dave Redikoff, right? Where he says, there's no right and wrong in career development, there's only rights and lefts. And I think that's totally true. Like, you can't go wrong. You know, even if you choose a program and it's not the program for you, even the knowing, the learning that those classes aren't for you and that that isn't your area of passion is good enough. Like, that's good information to have. Knowing what you don't like is just as important as knowing what you do like. We have to narrow the field somehow.
Yeah.
And so it's not really failures, it's just opportunities for learning more about yourself, I think, if you handle it properly.
That's right, and that's really the only pathway to growth. And sometimes we have this mistaken view that if we really like something, if we're passionate about it, if we have talent in something, that there shouldn't be failure along the way, that we should automatically be amazing at it or an expert at it. But failure is the only pathway to growth, and behind every success story, there is enormous amounts of practice and dedication and failure along the way. So accepting failure and having the courage to accept failure as a part of growth and development is also super important.
Accept that you're going to fail and get busy failing.
That's right.
Right?
Exactly.
So that you can learn
the
about
only way.
yourself and learn about the most appropriate direction for you.
Yeah, that's right.
I think there's so many places where students need to have courage, and being at university can be so scary. There is that constant change that's happening, right? I don't think there's any time of your life than being in emergent adulthood where you have as much change and uncertainty happening. And being at university, it's constant change. Semester to semester, you have different classes, different profs, different expectations, different roommates sometimes, different places you're living, different jobs. I mean, the amount of change that is going on typically in the 4 or 5 years someone spent at university is pretty intense. And so finding strategies in order to deal with change and uncertainty is super important during this time of life, but those strategies will help you carry on, right, in the future, because none of us are immune to change and uncertainty in our career development path.
There's nothing more amazing than when you overcome something that you're fearful of, when you go after something that terrified you and you overcome it and you're successful through that process. That's the greatest sense of accomplishment. Or when you pursue something that's really challenging, something that you perhaps doubted your ability to accomplish, and you achieve that. So once you get through that fear and you experience success, that's a tremendous feeling of accomplishment.
And you know, I think it's important for students to know that there's strategies that you can use in order to manage uncertainty and manage the pressures of change that are happening, right? Things like, I think building community can really help with uncertainty and with change. I think having a different perspective on your career and knowing that there's no rights and wrongs, only rights and lefts, right? Taking that pressure off, giving yourself permission to not know. I think that's another good step to take in managing uncertainty and unpredictability. And I think having the mindset for success is super important. Like recognizing that it's okay to make mistakes, it's okay to fail, that's what we do in our career development, is those things happen. So again, having a mindset for success, reaching out to other people, having I think a fresh perspective on what career development looks like, a realistic perspective on what career development looks like and what life looks like is important. Nobody's career path is straight from A to B. Everybody's is twisty and turny.
Well, there's a lot of noise in life that we all encounter about what we should do, and pressure, whether it's pressure from parents or peers to choose predictable paths or to choose the safe path, and there's a whole lot of courage involved in listening to your own voice as well, and paying attention to your own heart about what it is that you want to do with your life. That requires a tremendous amount of courage too, to pursue your own path.
To own your story.
To own your own story, But the rewards are tremendous for owning your own story, following your own path, paying attention to what your individual interests are, what it is that you want to do with your life, the mark that you want to make.
Being authentic.
Being authentic.
Like having the license for authenticity in your life, in your career paths, in your relationships, and giving yourself permission to just be you.
So have courage.
To make mistakes.
To learn from failure.
And take chances.
And jump at opportunities.
And maybe turn some opportunities down that just don't really fit for you.
Because every decision is a career decision.
It also takes courage to reach out. And I'd encourage you, if you're having any kind of problems dealing with the uncertainty or the change that's associated with university life or your career direction, to come and see us.